It's not avoidable. It will be a shit show. Having a new baby is the most disruptive thing of any adult's life, right? There's nothing like it. So there's phrases like it takes a village, right? It literally does, or a tribe in this case. We don't have that same kind of tribal lifestyle anymore, so it makes it really, really hard to have a new baby, and it's really easy to underestimate how fucking hard it is. So don't underestimate it. It can be very confusing as a dad to know what your role is with a new baby, right? New babies and moms have this very special bond. They're still kind of the same person. They're breastfeeding and all this stuff. And it's like, what do? We can feel kind of useless. And at the same time, moms can sometimes feel completely abandoned. Like, I'm left here with this baby and nobody knows how to help me or what to do. So making a really good postpartum plan can really help you as a dad know what to do and know what your role is, and help moms know also what your role is and how to ask for that, and know that they're fully supported. You are listening to Dedicated Joe, the new dad's guide on the upending and transformational experience of becoming a father. Hey guys, welcome back to Dedicated Joe. Today we're talking about how to avoid the new baby shit show through really good postpartum planning. Now, first of all, it's not avoidable. It will be a shit show. Having a new baby is the most disruptive thing of any adult's life, right? There's nothing like it. And this is a factor of our biology. Humans have some of the most dependent offspring of any mammal. They're the dependent for the longest, and also women can get pregnant again the soonest compared to other mammals. So the reason we evolved this way was to create the need for tribes, right? Babies are dependent so that no mom and dad can do it on their own. They needed to surround themselves with people to help. That's why everybody loves babies. And we needed to be in tribes in order to survive. We're tribal creatures. We're pack animals. And so the dependent babies really insisted that tribe continue. So these phrases like it takes a village, right? It literally does, or a tribe in this case. We don't have that same kind of tribal lifestyle anymore, so it makes it really, really hard to have a new baby, and it's really easy to underestimate how fucking hard it is. So don't underestimate it. Be ready and make a plan. You got to have a really, really solid plan. Now, you want to do this during pregnancy. You want to have the plan. It's never too late. If you're in postpartum now and you need to make a plan, stop and make a plan. Like, have a plan. It's never too late, but earlier the better. Like all the birth planning, you want to do it before 34 weeks, because after 34 weeks, baby can come any moment, and it's a lot harder to make this plan after. So along with planning your birth experience and all the things like that, make your postpartum plan. Do this as a couple, right? This should not be left for mom to just figure out on her own, nor should you, dad, make a plan and just tell your wife this is how it's going to be. So you want to do this together. It's very bonding, and then it can be very confusing as a dad to know what your role is with a new baby, right? New babies and moms have this very special bond. They're still kind of the same person. They're breastfeeding and all this stuff. And it's like, what do? We can feel kind of useless. And at the same time, moms can sometimes feel completely abandoned. Like, I'm left here with this baby and nobody knows how to help me or what to do. So making a really good postpartum plan can really help you as a dad know what to do and know what your role is, and help moms know also what your role is and how to ask for that, and know that they're fully supported. So there's 4 main pieces to postpartum planning. Number 1 is build dad community. You're going to need other parents. This is number 1 across the board. If you do nothing else, dads, build support network with other dads. I'll talk about this, exactly how to do this in a little bit, but number 1, build that community. Number 2, you want to have a really solid afterbirth plan, and there's a really cool postpartum planning course called the Afterbirth Plan. It's on the streaming platform Informed Pregnancy Plus, and it was co-created by Dr. Elliot Berlin, who I had on the show. Huge game changer. This resource wasn't available when we had our baby, but we give it to everybody we know now, and it's like really, really useful. It's only a couple hours long. Watch it, listen to it, do everything they say. They give you the full outline. If you follow that plan, you'll be set. The third one is a book called The First 40 Days, which was co-written by 3 different moms. And it's It also outlines how to do an afterbirth plan, so there's another resource there. But my favorite thing from that book was how to manage your community, how to manage your family, your friends, both how to set the tone for what they could do it, but also physically, like actually how to use them well. So I'm going to go into details about those. And then finally, I talk about this almost every episode, the fair play model of household management. It is a game changer for reducing resentment and making sure moms feel supported and dads play their role. Before baby comes is the best time to do this, when there's not as many chores and when you're not in the thick of postpartum or the resentment hasn't already been so built up that you can't even talk about this stuff. So I'll talk more about fair play in a little bit, but fair play is huge. So our postpartum went pretty well in all. Products, our baby food products launched the same day our baby was born. So I was in the thick of running the launch and the company while having the new baby. Our birth experience was completely disrupted. We planned this peaceful home birth and ended up in the hospital with a C-section because our baby was breech. So the recovery was very different. The birth plan was very different. So my wife was recovering from surgery and also adapting to a new baby while we were trying to run this company. And we didn't have really any family in town. Her sister lived here, but that was it. Where our families lived elsewhere. So it was definitely very tough. I don't even remember that first 6 weeks. I took time off. I was running the company, but I took quite a bit of time off and let the team run it. And I was just a blur. It was just a total blur of everything in that 6 weeks. So just plan for 6 weeks to be a somewhat of a blur, and absolutely take that time off if you can. Both moms and dads, whatever paternity, maternity your company offers, or if there's unpaid leave that you could afford, you're going to need all of it. You're going to want as much time off as you can. So I took as much as I felt like I could, and probably should have taken more. My wife took her a full, like, 4 or 5 months, I think, before really coming back, and then only came back part-time for almost a year before she was back full-time. And that's kind of what it takes. So, our postpartum experience was better than most, mostly because I had a really solid plan. I especially liked the way I set up our help. So I'll talk about how I did that. So first of all, let's talk about making that postpartum plan. There's aspects that you want to cover. I'll go through them here one by one. Number one is food. You got to eat. Breastfeeding mom eats for two, and you need to eat, and you have no time to cook. So setting up a meal train is huge with this. I'll talk about this in the managing help, ordering food delivery, like just use that, post-COVID, we've got food delivery, grocery delivery, meal kits, use them all. Like, you can prep food in advance as well. A lot of people spend time before baby comes making up and freezing good frozen meals, or having friends help you with that. Is great. Make a bunch of frozen meals. You're going to need all the food you can get. So make a plan for food. Laundry, it's like loads a day, man. I don't know how babies go through so much laundry, how small they are, but it's just a constant laundry. So you need a laundry plan. You can outsource this. You can pay to send your laundry out. So we love our paid laundry service. We put it in a bag, they pick it up, they bring it back a day or two later, and it's all folded and clean and ready. Pretty awesome. So if not, this is something you can use family and friends to do. House will become a disaster. So cleaning is a huge thing. If you pay for any kind of cleaning service now, double down on what they're coming. If they come every other week, have them come every week. If you don't have one, think about hiring one. Lots of pretty low cost maid services out there. Really, really helps, but the cleaning is something you'll need to plan for. And of course, mom probably does more of it now than you realize, and she's not going to do it as much. So you need to be prepared to help clean the house. I remember the house just becoming a disaster and being like, how did this happen? Like, where did all this mess come from? And my wife is like, I've been cleaning it every day, for years. And I just didn't notice. I just didn't even know she did that. So got to be prepared for that. Night duty, sleeping. Night is tough. I have a sleep episode on how to plan for sleep. So some of that you can do in advance, but a lot of it is you figure it out. Our biggest game changer for nights was alternating. We did not let both of ourselves be woken up in the middle of the night. We slept separately for a while and took baby with us in a little bassinet, snuggle me, into the different rooms. I slept in the guest room, my wife slept in her room. We would trade off who had baby. And even though she was breastfeeding, I could wake up with baby and bring her to breastfeed and then do all the rest of the stuff. So that was something that was really important, was figuring out how we're going to do nights. Because the sleep deprivation is real, and one person losing sleep over and over and over, especially when it's women and they're in recovery from birth is just it's a bad for everybody. It's bad for her, baby, you. You do not want her being the only one sleep deprived, even if you're back at work. You still want to take some nights and take on some of that because it's just one person can't lose sleep every night for weeks in a row. You need to plan your time off, as I said, so make sure you both know and your jobs know what your plan is and take as much as you possibly can. You want to make a plan for managing visitors and helpers, which I will discuss in more detail in a minute. If this is your second or third baby, you got to plan your existing care. Who's going to take care of the kids while mom's recovering and with baby, right? Especially that first 6 weeks where they're in this little bubble and she's physically recovering. Her and baby are still basically the same person. And who's going to take care of those kids? Probably you're going to have to do it yourself. Like probably you or paid help are going to have to take care of the other kids while mom recovers. So you need to make that plan. Or if mom's going to be involved in the other kid, you need to plan to take baby. So just have this plan where each kind of one of you has one of the kids is usually how that ends up happening. Feeding, breastfeeding, or formula feeding, great to decide in advance. Of course, the science says that breastfeeding is ideal if it's possible, but it's not possible for everybody. So our Serenity Kids formula is best formula on the market if you need it. So just kind of knowing what that plan is. Breastfeeding can be really, really tough. So having a really good plan, the right pump, the right station, the right snacks, the right approach to it, the right attitude. So learning about breastfeeding, studying that, understanding the breastfeeding plan or the formula plan, and making sure you have all that gear. So then there's paid help. Who are we going to hire? Different people, different incomes. So, the more the better is all I can say. But cleaning, like I said, is key. So if you can afford some maid services, that super, super helps. Meal services, whether it's like those subscriptions where they send a few meals, a handful of meals a week, those can be really great. We really, really valued our postpartum doula. I thought it sounded kind of silly. I was like, baby's already here. What's a postpartum doula going to do? Aren't they just a maid or a cook? Like, what's the deal? But there was just something about how she knew everything about what my wife needed for her recovery. She did everything from make these like Ayurvedic soups and meals to massage for both her and me and baby, to just like really understanding how to care for a recovering mom. So we really valued our postpartum doula. If you can afford that, I say invest in that. Lactation consultant was huge for us to help with breastfeeding. Breastfeeding's hard. There are experts. Lots of lactation consultants can come over. There's also groups like La Leche League that you can find out where are and make sure that they're close to you or figure out where you could go for support. And then there's care like nannies, babysitters. You want to establish these relationships now. Get the names of the babysitters from your parent friends. Or if you are considering having a part-time or full-time nanny, interview them before the baby comes. Like have that plan, that relationship established so that when baby comes, you're ready to just give them a call and let them set them. Also childcare for any return to work plan. So if assuming that a mom's going to go back to work at some point, you want to know what the childcare is going to look like. There actually can be very long wait lists for childcare. Babies under 1 year old are kind of hard to find childcare for. And this sucks because maternity in America, at most they get 4 months. Sometimes they get, less than a month. And so, but even at 4 months, it can be hard to find care for a 4-month-old baby. Sometimes you have to have a nanny come in the house, which is very, very expensive. And then you're really just working to pay for childcare. And that's really challenging. So finding that right childcare while you're pregnant, interviewing them, visiting them, getting it on the books, reserving your spot can be really, really important. And then finally, there's a thing called a night nanny. These are people, usually women, who will spend the night at your house and take care of your baby all night long. And it sounds kind of ridiculous and it costs money, of course, but man, was it huge. I mean, we were just so ragged, even before I went back to work fully, so ragged that the sleep loss is progressive, right? It gets worse and worse the more sleep you lose. And so having a night nanny, even just 1 or 2 nights a week for a while to just come and let you both have a really good night's sleep while they take care of baby, can be really, really huge. So check out night nannies for sure. And then there's more in the afterbirth plan, but those are kind of the major things. All right, so family and help, the village, right? The recreating the tribe. first 40 days outlines this framework really important that in this period of time after baby comes, it is all about the mom. Mom and baby are still essentially one. So what is good for mom is good for baby. So you need to help everybody in your life understand that their job, their role is to support the mom. Maybe if they come over, they get to see the baby and hold the baby and love on the baby. Maybe. But they have to understand that that's optional. The key thing is they're there for your wife, for your mom, for the mom. And what mom says goes. If mom says house is closed today, no visitors, you cancel all those visitors and reschedule them, right? If she wants something different, you change that. Mom is key, and what's good for mom is good for baby. So make sure that you understand this and you're there to fiercely represent that to everyone else in your community, and just really beat this into the heads of people in your life that they must be there for the mom, and they cannot have their own agenda. Also, a key thing was, so if they come over, people are going to want to come and visit, see the baby, of course. They got to come and do a job. They're not just coming to visit and hold the baby and coo and take a selfie with the baby. They need to do a job and make it clear these jobs are not that fun. It's things like cooking, shopping, cleaning, laundry, right? And again, maybe they get to see the baby. They probably will. But baby and mom are napping and don't want to see anybody. They might not get to see the baby. So you have to manage that expectation that they're coming and they're supporting mom. Someday they will get to see the baby, but they need to come and help. And so I made a spreadsheet of all our friends and family. Some were coming in town, some lived here, and picked days and shifts, kind of 2-hour shifts that we knew were kind of good time frames, kind of like mid-morning, mid-afternoon time frames, and asked my friends and family to sign up for shifts. You sign up for a shift, and they didn't know what they were going to be doing. I told them it could be whatever we need that day. It could be laundry, it could be cleaning, it could be going grocery shopping. Hopefully they get to see the baby when they come, but they're signing up for a shift. Sent that out to everybody. Some people signed up after I sent it out, but then those who didn't, I sent it individually. I texted them the link. It was like, hey, we'd love your help when the baby comes. I'm sure you want to see the baby. Here's a place to sign up for a shift. And, here's the kind of jobs you could be doing. And then a lot more people signed up when I asked them point blank, like individually, to sign up. Now, this was in addition to the meal train, which having them sign up for a meal train is another thing that you can have people do. And it usually involves cooking or purchasing food and just kind of dropping it off. Like in those early days, you don't expect to have to see the baby when you bring your meal over. You just kind of bring it over. There's various websites for this. Mealtrain.com, most popular one, very easy way to sign up. And this was something that I managed, but somebody in your life could manage this. If you want to outsource managing the meal train, that is something that, a sibling or a very close friend or family member could take on the meal train. You can do a meal train for a second baby. There's a myth that meal trains are only for first babies. Not true. You're having a second baby, do a meal train. In fact, you can do this entire plan. You can schedule all this help. On some level, you actually need more help because you got another kid to deal with. So don't feel like, oh, they helped me the first baby, I can't ask again. People love to help with babies. So they want to help you. They want to support you. And if they're parents, they remember how hard it was. So don't feel shy about asking. Okay, on to fair play. Fair play, system of household management. In my opinion, the only way to ensure equitable distribution of household labor between couples, especially men and women, and is, I think, one of the only predictable ways to make sure there's not that age-old resentment of moms feeling abandoned, like they have to do everything, and men being confused about what their role is, or also feeling nagged like they're never doing enough. This was what happened with me and Serenity. We did not have fair play when we started. It took us a year and a half, I think, to find this, and I was super engaged dad, right? Like I wanted to do everything I could, and she still was doing more work than me. She still felt abandoned, despite me just being super passionate about helping. And the fact was I just couldn't see the labor, and she didn't know how to teach me or show me. So fair play is a series of cards. It puts all the household jobs into a deck of cards. It's 100 different cards. You decide who's doing what. You decide the minimum standard of each card, and then you talk about it regularly. Like you meet regularly to talk about how the cards are going, give each other feedback, swap cards, share cards, and so forth. But to me, this is the best time to do this is before baby comes. There's not as many many jobs and chores to do, so it's not as unequal before baby comes. So it's a good time to get like a handle on the system and then have that ready to go by the time baby comes. But if baby's already here and you're listening to this, do it now. It's never too late. Fair play, super essential. And I have a whole episode on fair play, so you can go listen to that episode or check the link in the show notes to learn more and get the cards in the book. Now back to number 1. If you do nothing else, dads, build dad community, right? I'm starting with this and ending with this. Your non-parent friends will not get it. Like, they just won't know what to do. And it doesn't mean that you lose them forever. Some of them you just might lose some friends. Having a baby is kind of a, most disruptive thing in an adult's life. So part of that is who are your friends and who aren't, who knows how to support and stand up for you, and who was also a child themselves and need you to take care of them. And now you don't have time for those people. So you're just going to have to figure that out for yourselves. But what you will for sure need are dad friends, parent friends, couples that have been through what you're going through. We actually ended up joining a parent resource group of all parents that were in the same stage as us. So that was really nice to like share resources and know that we weren't alone and just see other parents going through it. But also dads that had been on the other side of it and they got through it and their kids are a little older. And of course you have your own parents and your spouse's parents and siblings. So, there's the family members that you can lean on, but you're just going to need these guys. You're just going to need this crew of dads that you can call and trust. So I set this up by having calls. I think it was like 5 different dads that I had phone calls with. I said, hey, can we have a call to talk about your birth and postpartum experience? And most of them had never been asked about it. They were like, yeah, nobody's ever asked me about that before. I'd love to talk about that. So I asked them questions like, what was your birth experience like? What were some of the hardest parts of postpartum, like after baby came? What were some resources you really liked? What were books or podcasts or resources that you leaned on, or tips and tricks? What were some of the biggest surprises about becoming a dad? What are some things I can expect to be surprised by? And then just ending on, can I call you when I need to? Just get that overt permission that when shit hits the fan and you don't know what to do, can I call you? Can I text you? Can I reach out? And of course they always say yes. But nice to have that permission so that they knew that they're officially part of your dad support network. Huge. If you have this, you will make it through, even if you do none of the other things. I've tried to bring all this knowledge into one place so that we can pool the dad knowledge together, which is definitely there for you to use, but it is not a replacement for that real dad connection, right? You can't call me and ask me questions, right, when you need to, and you're going to need dads that you can call. So obviously this resource is great, use it, and also build that connection with dads. So make your plan with your wife. It will still be a shit show, but it will be less of a shit show if you plan. And please share this episode with any couples who are pregnant right now. Leave a comment about the hardest thing you faced in your postpartum or you're planning to face. And please like, subscribe, and help me reach more dads by liking and subscribing to this wherever you get your podcasts. And stay dedicated.